2007, the University of Delaware Office of Resident Life offered a mandatory diversity program. This program was presented by Dr. Butler. The reason why this diversity program was controversial is because it assumed that all white people are racists. In this 15-page document, you can scroll through here and you can see many quasi-intellectual definitions. For example, you see here white privilege, one of my personal favorites, because it assumes that white people have a certain privilege in the United States that's only enjoyed by white people. I think this is a misnomer. I think white privilege actually is a cultural privilege. For example, if you went to Japan, you would fully expect the Japanese there to have a certain cultural privilege over foreigners that came into that nation. You would expect the Japanese to fully know their society and their culture, their language, and also their history. And why would you expect anything different in America, where white people created the United States of America? You would also expect the same thing, white cultural privilege in England and in Germany and in France. So this documentation may be wondering, well, what's the big deal about it? I'm not racist. Well, actually, if you look on page 3, you scroll down here and look on page 3, you'll see a definition of racist. And here, a racist is basically a term that applies to all white people. So basically, if you're white, you're racist according to Dr. Butler. Well, you may say, well, you're a non-racist. Well, according to Dr. Butler, this is a non-term. This term, as she says, was created by whites to deny the responsibility for systematic racism. So I like this. I like this anti-white bias, is that if you're white, you're racist. If you say you're non-racist, you obviously are denying your responsibility. But who is this Dr. Butler? Why is she so anti-white? Well, let's take a look here. According to her biography here, it says that she's a multiracial African-American woman. She says that she's African, part Indian, and also part Russian Jew. Very interesting. Very interesting, but what right does she have to say anyone is racist? If you'd like to download that documentation, that PDF file, you can go to this URL here and download it. I'd like to go over spotting anti-white bias and questioning diversity. One of the things you can see in spotting anti-white bias is that whites are to blame for everything wrong with non-whites, from their crime rates, from their high school dropout rates, from everything. Anything that has bad that has happened to non-whites is the fault of white people. So scapegoating white people is definitely up there on the list of spotting anti-white bias. Another one is code words such as dead white males are used. For example, in intellectual circles, you may hear this at the universities or the colleges, such as talking about Plato, and you may hear something about, oh, well, he's just a dead white male. Well, what does that actually mean? His contributions to philosophy are not adequate enough simply because he's a white male and he's no longer in existence? So another thing, too, is that here you can see the diversity programs that exclude learning about white cultures and customs. For example, there's a lot of people that complain about diversity programs that may occur at work or at school in which white people aren't even talked about. We're simply supposed to learn about other cultures and customs, but they're not supposed to learn about our cultures and our customs and what we enjoy and what we expect within society. Another thing is you can spot anti-white bias, and this happens pretty often, but look for it. Movies and TV programs that show whites as weak, cowardly, or less intelligent than non-whites, in which there's a big, strong black male that's really tough and strong and saves the women, and the white guy is very cowardly and he runs away. That's pretty common. It's pretty par for the course nowadays in politically correct America. So one thing we can do is we can question diversity, especially if we go to one of these diversity programs. Several questions would be, how will diversity be beneficial to white people? And what does this cost to white people if white people are supposed to accept diversity? One thing that people always promote is affirmative action, such as, since you're white and there's way too many white people in this field of study or at this college or whatever, you're going to have to be discriminated against. We're going to have a racial quota so that a certain group of blacks and Hispanics will be able to get in there. So that they can get in there and not be discriminated against, quote unquote. Another thing is, you can ask in these diversity lectures is, ask where in the world has diversity ever worked? For example, in India, India used to be, and Pakistan actually split off from India in the 1950s. They had huge conflicts, hundreds of thousands of people dead on each side. So as we see throughout the world, from Rwanda to Bosnia-Herzegovina, we see that diversity doesn't work, never has worked. In fact, over the approximate 140 or so conflicts that are occurring on Earth right now, only 2 of them are not based on diversity issues. Another thing you can ask in the diversity question, you can ask, why are only white nations affected by mass diversity? Why is England, why is the United States, why is Canada, why is Australia? Why are we the countries that are being affected by mass diversity? Why isn't the entire world being affected by it? It seems a little unfair that white nations have to undergo these pains of mass diversity and changing of our cultures and our customs simply to suit other groups of people that come in here, voluntarily, of course. So this is my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it, and that's it. Bye.